Hello there, kids. Today we are going to learn how to solve for time. Basically, you have three factors when you're solving for time. One is time started. So let's say at this point, all the way to a certain point. And this we can consider our time ended. And from this point to this point is your duration. Refers to how long it took something to finish. Like for example, if you started playing a certain game at 7 a.m. and finished playing at 10 a.m., the duration refers to how long it took you to play the game. There are actually two ways to solve this. One is by making a timeline. Okay, one is timeline based. Okay, so for example, from 7, all you need to do is just to keep by the hour. 7. Gawa muna tayo ng timeline. Okay. You start at 7, skip by the hour since there are no minutes. So pwede tayong play safe. We have 8, 9, 10, 11. But if you notice, we only ended at 10. So hanggang dito lang tayo. When you start counting, you always start at 0. 0 yan ang ating starting time. Okay? Our starting time should always be 0. So that's a 0 hour. Wala. The next hour will be the first mark of your first hour. So 1 hour na when it from 7 to 8 rather. Then from there on, counting continuously, this will be your second hour, and continuously counting, that will be your third hour. Which means the duration from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. is equivalent to 3 hours. Okay? So, ganun lang yung skip counting natin. And doing the other approach, which is basically by simply subtracting. Okay, this subtracting time is actually complicated. Especially if wait lang. Subtracting this, the formula will be time ended minus time started. Especially if the given hours are in, Paano ba to? Are in 24-hour time format. Okay, this should be in 24-hour time format. Kailangan. Okay, kasi kung hindi, you might have conflicts with solving this process. Okay, time ended natin is 10 a.m. minus time started natin, which is 7 a.m. So subtracting this is equivalent to 0, 0. Again, sa time kasi, these two parts are two different groups, because you cannot borrow from minutes. I mean, technically, it's not how you normally subtract numbers. Okay? I-explain ko lang sa inyo mamaya. But in this time, as you can see, since you can subtract this normally without borrowing, so easy lang to. Okay, then again, the thought of subtracting time, if there is no borrowing, then it will be very easy. Pero pag may borrowing process, it will be hard. So then again, sa R naman tayo ngayon, 10 minus 7 will give you 3. Hence, that the answer here is 3 hours. Just the same as what we had earlier. Okay, so another example. Let's say yung time started natin is at, let's say, 8:25 a.m. Time ended is at 2:40 p.m. But then again, just to play safe, no? Para sa subtracting process natin, we should change this to 24-hour format, and 2:40 is equivalent to what time? Sa 24 hours natin, it's equivalent to 14:40 hours. Okay. So, ito lang yung guide ninyo muna. Again, there are two ways. One is the timeline. The other one is by basically subtracting. Okay, timeline muna tayo. Skip counting tayo. Starting at 8:25, skip count by the hour, 9:25, 10:25, 11:25, 12:25, then you have 13:25 para lang makakuha natin kasi nga we are using the 24-hour clock for the next hour. And 14:25. So since we should only consider 14, no, kasi wala nang 15. So if you notice, counting it by the hour, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Is this our answer? Not yet. Bakit, teacher? Bakit hindi pa yan ang sagot natin? Because if you notice, our time ended is not the exact minutes. Unlike yung kanina, 0, 0. That is easier to solve compared to this one. If you notice, time started natin is at 25, yung ended natin is 40. So all you need to do now is just to take the difference, no? Just take the difference of 40 from 25 going to 40. So that's basically 40 minus 25. And doing so will give you a difference of 15 minutes. Even if you're going to count from 25 to 40, that will give you a total of 15 minutes. So ibig sabihin, ang answer natin dito is 6 hours and 15 minutes. Now, what if we're going to have a difference of yung shorter ang minutes natin, smaller ang minutes ng ating end time? What are you going to do? So then again, another situation. Starting time natin is 10:45 and our end time is 3:30. So PM, let's say this is AM and this is PM. Then again, so that it will be easier for you, change it to 24-hour time, and 3:30 is equivalent to 15:30 hours. Okay. Keep it there. Parang ganun lang. Pero sa books ninyo, especially for pages 192 to 193, they are all in 24-hour format. Okay. So, doing the timeline process, timeline muna tayo. 10:45, 11:45, 12:45, 13:45, and you have 14:45, 15:45. So if you notice, you cannot consider this as the next hour. Why? Because 15:45 already went over 15:30, which means you cannot consider this last hour. So again, hindi nyo pwedeng i-consider this as your final hour. For example, if you're going to count starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you cannot consider this as your fifth hour. Hindi pwede. Then again, because 15:45 went over 15:30 na. Okay? So, hindi na yan pwede. Which means the total number of hours lang meron tayo is 1, 2, 3, 4. We have a total of 4 hours. Now, if you have a clock with you, all you need to do is to count by minutes, starting from 45 all the way to 30. Okay, you are not basically counting this like magsa-subtract lang tayo or ano. Kasi if you're going to look at your time nga, you need to consider 45 going to 30. So if for example, sa relo natin, if you have a clock with you, so knowing this is 12, 6, 3, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, may 3 na nga, 3, 4, 5 pa ulit. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Take note that our start point here is at 45. That is equivalent to 45 in terms of minutes and seconds. And yung target ninyo is 30. And knowing that this is where our 30 minute or second is. Okay, kasi for minutes and seconds, yun yung target natin. So which means all you need to do here is to count how many minutes is it from here all the way until you reach your mark, which is 30. So then again, when you count, start at 0. That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why am I counting by 5? You're supposed to skip by... Why am I counting by 1? You're supposed to skip by 5 here because then again, this is minutes. And when you say minutes, you skip count by 5, no? 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Which means that is a total of 45 minutes. So which means our answer here is 4 hours and 45 minutes. Okay? So, ganun lang yung doing the timeline. Now, what if you're going to make use of the subtraction process? Ito, yung pag-subtract natin dito. Okay? This is a little complicated, so I advise you to make use of the timeline instead. But if you would like to learn about this, continue watching. Okay, doing so, subtracting natin, subtracting time ended and time started. Again, this is the complicated part. So, write ko lang ulit yung formula natin. Time ended and time started. Subtract yan na. Again, this should be in 24-hour format. Time ended natin is in 15:30. Sulatin ko pa rin yung ganitong way of writing. Yung may colon. This is just to separate. So we have 15:30 ang ating time ended minus time started natin which is 10:45. Okay. This is how you will normally do this, no? I'm quite sure that this is how you'll basically do this. Pag subtracting tayo, anong ginagawa ninyo is magbaborrow kayo dito, this will become 2 and this will become 10. No, because since this is time, they have different units. You do not do this process. Okay? Hindi natin magagawa to, especially when you borrow from your minutes time, from your minute area compared to your hour. You cannot just borrow, simply borrow like how we usually borrow. Okay? Hindi pwede yung ganun. Okay, so, ito yung tamang process natin. Again, this process is wrong. Papakita ko sa inyo dito. 15:30 minus 10:45. You take it by bulk. 30 minus 45 derecho. But if you can notice that you cannot subtract 45 from 30. So which means you need to take 1 unit from your hours. Okay? Kuha tayo ng isang unit from our hour here which is ang 15. If you're going to take 1 hour from 15, this will now become basically 14. And knowing that 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes, this 60 minutes now, the one that you took away from 15, will be given in your minutes time. Okay? Klaruhin ko lang again. Sulatin ko lang ulit. 15:30 minus 10:45. The moment you're going to remove 1 hour from 15, this will become 14. Knowing that 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes, this 60 minutes will then be transferred here. Okay? So which means magkakaroon tayo ngayon ng plus 60 here. And if you're going to add 60 to 30, this will now become equivalent to 90. Diba? Writing this again, rewriting this again, you have 1490 minus 1045. Again, like what I've told you, this is complicated. That's why I want you to stick with the timeline process lang of solving. So doing this, all you need to do now is to subtract. Pwede nyo na i-subtract kaagad. 90 minus 45 will give you 45. And 14 minus 10 will give you 4. And if you notice, if you're going to check our answer, 4:45, saan yung answer natin? 4 hours and 45 minutes. See? It's basically the same. Okay? So, komplikado. Pero, if you will be able to understand this, good. If not, then stick with this process sa timeline. Okay? So, that is basically it for today.